Hi guys, it's Rob from Raw Balls. I had my second ovulation starting last night, so we'll take a look at that, and we'll also take a look at my incubator now that it's switched on and preparations for the first eggs. We'll take a look at some do's and don'ts of incubation. Before we do that, sticker shout out. I have from Fabtiles Brute Constrictions over in Germany. Thanks mate. From Royal Morphs UK. Cheers mate, hope you're doing well. And from Flat Mountain Pythons I got a card and a little note from Anna with some stickers here. So Flat Mountain Pythons, thanks Anna for the stickers. Okay, let's take a look at some snakes. So let's get a look at this girl. She started to ovulate last night, so she should be in full ovulation right now. Yes, there she is. Look at that massive swelling. There you can see massive swelling. Along here. If we look at the tail, you can see the tail suck underneath here. Yes, she doesn't like that. So this girl is ovulating. She's just a normal girl paired to a super pastel leopard Mojave, so we're hoping for some pastel leopard combos, pastel Mojave combos. I need some more leopard in my collection. So there we go, my second ovulation. Exactly 1 month later than the girl at the bottom, who should lay eggs in about 2 weeks. This girl here, she has been nesting under the paper. This girl here also not sure. Time to ovulate, girl. Ovulate. This girl's doing well, still building. This girl here. Also not sure about this one. Ovulate. This girl here, not sure if she's going to lay. Building. Building. In shed. Building. Building. She's looking nice and chunky. Also still building. Looking chunky. building nicely. She's glowing now, looking really good. That's a het lavender. She's looking nice. So this is my incubator, same incubator that I used last season. It's a converted drinks cabinet, holds about 8 clutches. You can see at the bottom here, there's a minimal amount of heat tape and there's a fan. I need minimal heat tape because the ambient temperature is 86, so I only need to nudge it by 2 or 3 degrees, which takes very little heat cable. You can see a little bit of heat cable at the back. I have 2 little thermometers and you'll see they're at 30, 31 degrees and 80% humidity. And I have water bottles. The water bottles in there are to prevent temperature spikes rather than to hold heat when the doors open, because it's quite warm already. So no insulation at all. And the one thing to note is the temperature probe. I do have a thermostat on the heat cable in there, and when I first switched this on I didn't realise that the temperature probe had dropped down to the bottom and was lying very close to the heat tape, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get a stable temperature. When I checked, it's because the little heat probe there had dropped off. So that's something to check on your incubators. The fan, I did install a fan, but I can't use it because the heat that it generates overheats the incubator. My thermostat sits on the top, there it is, and the temperature on the thermostat, and the temperature on the readout on the drinks cabinet are not accurate. If I use a heat gun, you will see that the temperature is sitting at 90 degrees on the heat gun, 89.5. Not much of a heat gradient in there, don't need the fan. The same incubator that I used last season, and it worked just fine. It's been switched on for a couple of weeks now and the temperature's holding stable. It's perfect. 2 different sizes of egg boxes. I have a small one that holds about 4 eggs, and the larger size egg boxes that hold 6 to 8 eggs. So a large clutch I can split between one large egg box and one small egg box. Small clutches can fit in the small ones, and an average size clutch in the big one, so I can mix and match there. But around about 6 to 8 clutches can be held in the incubator. So there it is. I just wanted to show you one of my egg boxes that I just took out of the incubator, just to show you how I do it. It is a shoebox size, so plenty of room in there, and I don't use diffuser on top of my substrate. I use these little rubber mats which are very soft and flexible like that. I use 2 of them just to lift the eggs off the top of the substrate, and I find these are very flexible. They're soft, nowhere near as harsh as the egg crates. And I also find that they're a little bit gentler on the baby snakes. When the baby snakes hatch, they don't tend to damage themselves on this soft rubber matting. Inside the shoebox, you can see I have a layer of vermiculite, and on top of that just some dry perlite. I think, as I've mentioned before, in the tropics we don't have issues here with the incubator drying out. My incubator sits at 80% humidity even when it isn't switched on. That's just normal ambient. So the vermiculite is mixed 1:1. It doesn't have to be exact, and because I don't have issues with my egg box drying out, I tend to use a little bit less vermiculite than most people would. This does not dry out during the 60 days of incubation, and the perlite over the top, when the snakes hatch, I find is cleaner. It doesn't stick to the snakes in the same way as the vermiculite does. So a layer of perlite just over the top to keep things nice and clean. I put the plastic mat over the top of the whole lot, and you can see that the mat is quite soft and flexible, so when I put the eggs in, I can actually make the eggs sit in the center and they don't roll towards the edges, because the only really crucial part of incubation for me certainly is not so much how much moisture and keeping moisture in the egg box, it's actually keeping the eggs away from the sides. You can see that there is a little bit of condensation here on the insides, so we want the eggs to sit with a nice gap away from the edges of the egg box. We don't want water wicking into the eggs, and likewise on the top we need a nice clearance for the eggs on the top, so that when you put the lid on, the eggs don't touch the top of the lid. So there's plenty of space in there, and I also use a little ventilation hole. You can see the small hole there, and there's one at each end of the egg box. Again, your mileage may vary in your climates. Your incubators may be much drier than my incubator, which, if you put too much ventilation, can actually suck the humidity out of the substrate and it dries up, but I have no issues with that. So my egg boxes are not even airtight. I don't use press and seal. The eggs go in, I put that back on the top of the eggs go in the incubator, and that's all I need to do. I just make sure the eggs are not touching directly onto the substrate, and I make sure that the eggs have clearance around the sides and on the top, just to make sure that it's not wicking any condensation down onto the eggs. The eggs remain at 100% humidity, fairly close to, but they don't actually come in contact with any condensation or water. So that's my egg box. Okay guys, that's it for this episode. I hope everybody's staying safe and family and friends are all still well. It's taking a lot of patience, I know, to do this social distancing and lockdown stuff, but it does seem to be working. Many countries now are over the hump, so let's stay hunkered down and hope we get through this. I know a lot of you have been doing live stream videos and all sorts of daily postings while you've been locked up at home, so I'll try to keep the videos coming, and we'll see you next time.